Hello and welcome to this video. This is step 2 of self-publishing your book in India. Step 1 was going ahead and finding your theme, the core message, and creating a reader persona. If you missed out on step 1, I'm adding a link to the video for step 1. Go ahead, listen to it and come back to this video. Let's get started. Once you have your core theme, the idea that you plan to present in your book, the next step is to create a book outline. You will see this book outline eventually becomes your table of contents or the list of chapters that you will showcase in the beginning of the book. But yeah, let's come back to outline. Outline is the entire skeleton of the book starting from the end. It's going to help you in the next step when we start creating content. Now, a lot of authors get stuck at this step because they don't know how to go about creating an outline and they end up spending a lot of time on wrong areas. So in this video, we will explore some hacks, some beautiful ideas which you can implement almost right away and start creating your outline. Let's get started. The first way to create an outline is the most simple way is to list down chapter by chapter. Now this is applicable if you have a full view of all the chapters that eventually will come in your book, or maybe a 70 to 80% view. So it's going to start with an introduction, then what comes, and so on and so forth. So if you have 70-80% idea of what chapters will look like, start ahead with this first method, which is chapter by chapter. Now in case you don't have a lot of idea, we'll go to the second step, which is the mind map technique. In a mind map technique, you start with a central idea, the theme that you got from your book. You put that central idea in a blank page in the center. So this is your theme or the core idea. From here, you start drawing circles to say, okay, in this book, I want to cover X. Maybe within this X, I will also like to include 2 samples. What else? Maybe, here I want to talk about my life. Pardon my writing, my life. It reminds me that I should also talk about, maybe it's a memoir, maybe it's a memoir and you want to talk about your dog as well. It reminds me that I should include some pics. And in the intro, I would like to remember that in the intro, I need to include my degrees, the awards that I have received. That seems to be an award for me. And what else? But as you can see, once you create a mind map, you can start adding a lot of pictures. In no time, it will start looking like the crime scene investigation. You must have seen any crime murder investigation movie or crime investigation movie, and how they on the wall have pictures, some notes, some newspaper cuttings, and a lot of lines running through. So that's how your mind map should be looking. The messier it is, the better it is. Try to put everything that's on your mind into that mind map, so that when you move on from this step, all you have to do is reduce, but nothing to increase. So that's the option number 2 of going the mind map way. Now, if you still need more motivation and you're not ready to start with a mind map, then go with the third option, which is a Synopsis outline. In this, you create a couple of sentences. So you have sentence number 1, sentence number 2, 3, 4, 5, which vaguely describes your story. Then you put them into right sequence to say, this line or this sentence has to come first and this one has to come last, and everything in between. So you have sentences, 1, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5. These are brief chapters. Eventually these will look like brief chapters. But once you have the sentences, then you go back to say, this is my 1, probably this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this one is 5. What this gives you is a basic framework to start writing or creating your outline, because now you at least have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What you do is you now create a connection between 1 and 2 by adding more smaller integrations or more smaller chapters here. Similarly, 2 and 3, add more chapters. 3 and 4, add more details, and so on and so forth. You add more details between 4 and 5. Sometimes when you reach 5, you realize, you know what, I need a little bit more information. So maybe I'll add a 6 here, or maybe I'll bring this book to a closure. But what you see, by doing this, you have a complete view of the book. By the end, you are going away with a complete outline or a view of what is going to come in the book. So that's the step or the option number 3 you can explore. If that too doesn't work for you, let's go to option 4. Option 4 is the Snowflake Method. In the Snowflake Method, you start with a single sentence that kind of describes your book. This sentence can come from your step 1, where you have decided or you have thought of the core theme of the book, and from there you start adding smaller details one step at a time. It may look like a hypnosis method. However, in this method, you're just adding few words, some liners here and there, and trying to put all that is in your mind onto a page. It's more like brainstorming and then walking through the entire step to say what comes first, what comes second. Again, if it's messy, that's absolutely fine. The messier the page would be, the clearer your mind would be, because you're putting everything from your mind onto a page. And that's the entire idea, to make the page look messy but have a clear mind in terms of where you're heading. And all these options that I've discussed so far primarily work for any fiction or non-fiction topics. However, if you're going purely into technical, let's say project management, agile, AI, or anything as such which is purely technical, then I would highly recommend you go with the 5th option, which is the 3-way method. In a 3-way method, and most of the technical books that you would have read, you now realize that they were designed using the 3-way method. 3-way method is nothing but just 3 points of understanding anything technical. The first one is an introduction. Let's say you're talking about Java or you're talking about AI. The first would always be an introduction to the entire environment. The second would be how you can learn or how to learn. And the third would be how you can use that in the real market. So if I were to put some specific words, step 1 in that would be intro, step 2 would be learning, and step 3 would be assessment. So if you are starting with a technical book, anything around the IT technologies or anything, I would highly recommend you go by the 3-way method, where you create the 3 areas, which is step 1, intro, step 2, learning, and step 3, execution, and then start breaking it down to say what all do I need to have in an intro. Probably you need to tell the user, when was, let's say if you're talking about Python, when was Python invented, who invented it, how do you install it in your system, how do you start using it. From there, you will go into the Python coding, troubleshooting, followed by, creating advanced codes. And from there, you come to the 3rd chapter. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3 for me. So then you come to the 3rd section, where you're talking about how to implement this in your real life, and then you end here. So if you're going technical, again, these are not hard-coded ideas, these are open ideas. So feel free to pick one. Pick the one that really works for you. When you look at these 5 options or 5 ways to figure out your outline, you will see one of them you will click by default. Pick that, move on from there, and start creating your outline. Now, how do you know when your outline is complete? When you look at the entire outline, it should be a skeleton. It should not have a lot of details, but just points. And when you look at the outline, you should be able to say, oh, you know what? This looks like a complete book to me. This is what I had in my mind. And I am now comfortable moving ahead into creating content. So that's number 1. Number 2 is an outline. Again, that's why we call it an outline. It is flexible. You can come back and change. However, don't wait for it to be perfect. I read this book called 10X by James Cardone. One of the things that really hit me was done is better than perfect. So go ahead, complete the outline. Don't make it perfect. As long as it's 80 to 90% done, move on to the next step. As you start creating content, you will get a lot more clarity in terms of the outline, and you can come back and edit again. So once you complete the outline, move on to the next step. In this video, I'm also giving you some AI prompts which you can use to create an outline. I always believe that it's not easy to create, let's say, 10,000 words. But if AI gives you 20,000 words, it's easy to delete 10,000 and keep the rest. So create an outline for yourself, use the outline, AI prompts, go to ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, any of the AI models that you use, input that and let AI refine it for you and see what you're going to use, the one that AI gives you or the one you created. But use one, keep one handy, put it on a Word document, and we will use that as we hit the next video where I'll show you how to create content around your content outline or the book outline. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and give me a like, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in the next video, and we will move one step closer to self-publishing our book in India. Thank you for watching.